I'm 28, and for the past 3 years, I shared a cozy apartment with my roommate, Sarah, who's 29. We lived in a mid-sized city, the kind with coffee shops on every corner and traffic that's just annoying enough to complain about. Our place was small, but homey think mismatched furniture and a kitchen that always smelled like someone's latest cooking experiment. I handled the big bills, rent and apartment insurance. Every month, I'd send Sarah a Venmo request for her half, and she'd pay up without a fuss. It was a system that worked, or so I thought. Here's where I feel a bit dumb. I assumed our rent covered everything: Wi-Fi, power, even the washer-dryer we shared in the building's basement. I'd never lived on my own before moving in with Sarah, and back at my parents' house, utilities were just part of the deal. Nobody told me otherwise, and I didn't ask. Sarah never mentioned extra bills, so I figured we were all set. Looking back, I should have checked. But I was juggling a new job and figuring out adult life. My brain just filed utilities under not my problem. Life with Sarah was easygoing. We split chores like pros. She'd vacuum, I'd tackle dishes. We weren't best friends, but we'd chat over coffee or watch a random movie on the couch. I trusted her completely. She was the reliable type, always on time with her Venmo payments and quick to fix a leaky faucet before I even noticed. We'd go to trivia nights at a local bar sometimes, laughing over bad answers. But our lives were mostly separate. She had her graphic design gigs. I had my office job. We were roommates, not soulmates, and that felt just right. My financial habits, not exactly stellar. I was new to this whole independence thing. Paying rent and insurance felt like a big win, and I didn't think much beyond that. I'd splurge on takeout or a new pair of shoes without tracking my budget too closely. Sarah seemed to have her stuff together, so I leaned on our system and didn't dig deeper. I never saw a power bill or a Wi-Fi statement, and I didn't go looking. That was my mistake, one I didn't realize until Sarah packed her boxes and left. Then, everything changed the weekend Sarah moved out. I was helping her carry a box of books to her car, chatting about her new place. When she dropped a bomb, "Oh, by the way," she said, casual as if mentioning the weather. Said, "I've been paying the Wi-Fi, power, and washer-dryer bills for the past 3 years. Forgot to ask you for your half." My stomach sank. 3 years. I stood there, gripping the box, my mind racing. How did I miss this? I thought rent covered everything. I managed to stammer, "What? How much do I owe you?" Sarah shrugged, looking sheepish. "It's my fault for not saying anything. I'm not expecting it all back. But maybe a couple thousand would help." A couple thousand. My head spun. I felt like I'd been living in a bubble, clueless, while Sarah quietly covered bills I didn't even know existed. She wasn't mad, which made it worse. Her kindness just amplified my guilt. Back inside, I pulled up the utility accounts she'd transferred to my name. My hands shook as I logged in, dreading what I'd find. The statements confirmed it. Wi-Fi, power, and laundry added up to about $115 a month. Over 3 years, that was just over $4. $4,000 I'd never paid. The numbers stared back at me, cold and undeniable. I pictured all the takeout I'd ordered, the clothes I'd bought, while Sarah footed the bill for lights and internet. Later that night, we sat on the couch, now half empty without her stuff. "Why didn't you say anything?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Sarah sighed, running a hand through her hair. "Honestly, I didn't notice at first. I set up autopay when we moved in and just forgot to split it. I only realized when I checked my accounts before moving." She looked apologetic, not accusing, which made me trust her even more. But I couldn't shake the feeling of being blindsided. How had we both let this slide for so long? I went to bed reeling, my trust in Sarah intact, but my confidence in myself shaken. After Sarah's bombshell about the unpaid bills, I couldn't sleep. My mind kept replaying her words. 3 years, $4,000. I felt stupid and horrible, like I'd let her down. How could I miss something so obvious? I'd prided myself on being responsible, paying rent on time, keeping the apartment insured, but I'd been clueless about the utilities. The shame stung worse than the dollar amount. I'd been living my life, ordering pizza and buying concert tickets, while Sarah quietly covered the bills that kept our lights on. Frustration kicked in next. Why hadn't she said something sooner? If she'd Venmo'd me $115 a month, I could have budgeted for it, maybe skipped a few lattes. Now, A couple thousand felt like a mountain. My savings account wasn't exactly overflowing between rent, groceries, and student loans. I was scraping by. The thought of coughing up a lump sum made my stomach churn. I wished we'd sorted this out from the start, bit by bit, instead of this gut punch at the end. Lying in bed, I worried about more than money. Sarah was a good person, someone I trusted. What if this messed things up? I didn't want her to think I'd taken advantage of her, even if it was an accident. I pictured her resenting me, our easygoing roommate vibe turning sour. At the same time, I wanted to be fair. She'd carried the load for years, and I couldn't just shrug it off. But how much was fair? My brain spun with numbers. $1. So no one. $1. And no clear answer. Being a young adult in America means you're supposed to have it together, or at least fake it. I felt like I was failing at that. I'd moved out to prove I could handle life on my own, but this mistake screamed inexperience. Friends my age were buying houses or traveling. I was stressing over a bill I didn't know existed. The pressure to get this right, to keep Sarah's trust and not derail my own finances, kept me up, wondering how I'd dig myself out of this mess. Tossing and turning that night, I couldn't shake the weight of owing Sarah $4. My mind latched onto a number, maybe $1. 0 or $1. 500. It felt like a lot, but was it enough? The total debt loomed large, and I wasn't sure what fair looked like. Sarah had said a couple thousand, but she wasn't pushing for it all. That leniency made me want to get this right, to show I valued her trust. Still, my bank account wasn't ready for a big hit. I kept asking myself, what's the right amount to make this fair without breaking me? Sarah's good character kept coming to mind. She wasn't scamming me or throwing blame. She'd owned her part in forgetting to ask for the money. She's a good person. Trust. I reminded myself, replaying her apologetic smile. That trust made me want to step up, not let her down. But the numbers didn't add up easily. Paying $1. 500 would mean cutting back on everything. No more brunches, no weekend trips. Paying less felt cheap, like I was dodging responsibility. I was stuck, my head a mess of guilt and math. Desperate for clarity, I turned to the internet. I posted about it online, spilling my confusion. Help, I wrote, hoping strangers could sort out what I couldn't. Was $1, 0 too little? $1, 500 too much? I needed someone to tell me what fair looked like. Friends were great for venting, but I wanted unbiased advice, something to guide me through this mess. I figured hearing from others might point me in the right direction, maybe even calm the panic in my chest. Before I could decide, I knew I had to talk to Sarah again. I planned to sit her down, go over the numbers, and figure out what we both felt good about. I also needed to dig into my finances. Really look at what I could afford without spiraling into debt. It wasn't just about paying her. It was about doing it in a way that kept our trust intact. As I closed my laptop, I felt a flicker of hope. Maybe with some advice and a real talk, I could find a way to make this right. With a plan to talk to Sarah, I didn't waste time. 2 days after my late-night spiral, I texted her to meet up at our favorite coffee shop down the street. I wanted to sort this out face to face. No more assumptions. My stomach was in knots, but I was determined to be transparent and fair. I owed her that much after 3 years of unknowingly dodging those bills. Over lattes, I started with an apology. Sarah, I feel awful about the utilities. I had no idea. She nodded, stirring her coffee. I should have said something sooner, she admitted. When we moved in, I set up the accounts and figured you knew. It felt weird to bring it up later. Her honesty made me relax a little. She wasn't mad, just as awkward about this as I was. It reminded me why I trusted her. I took a deep breath and floated a number. I can do $1. But it's tight for me right now. Is that okay? Sarah's eyes softened. That's more than fair, she said. But what if we did a payment plan? Like a few hundred a month? I don't want you stressed. Her suggestion was a lifeline. A payment plan hadn't even crossed my mind, and it felt like a way to make this right without tanking my savings. Later that day, I called my friend Jess, who's basically a budgeting wizard. Over the phone, I spilled the whole story. How do I not screw this up again? I asked. Jess laughed, but got serious fast. You need a budget, girl. Track every bill, and always talk money up front with roommates. No assumptions. She walked me through setting up a spreadsheet for expenses, and it felt like a grown-up moment. I wasn't just fixing this mess, I was learning how to avoid the next one. Emotionally, I was in a better spot. Sarah's understanding took a huge weight off. Even if my bank account still made me nervous, I felt committed to settling this the right way, keeping our trust intact. The stress wasn't gone, but I had a plan and a friend's advice to lean on. For the first time since Sarah moved out, I felt like I could handle this. After our coffee shop talk, things started moving forward. Sarah and I met again a week later at the apartment, now just mine. To nail down the repayment, we agreed on $1,500 split into $300 a month for 6 months. It was more than my initial $1,500 idea but felt fair, and the payment plan made it doable. Sarah smiled, relieved, and I felt a knot in my chest loosen. We were figuring this out together, keeping the trust we'd built over 3 years. With Sarah gone, I took over the utility accounts, Wi-Fi, power, and the washer-dryer. Logging into each one was a crash course in adulting. I set up autopay and calendar reminders so I'd never miss a bill again. Jess, my budgeting friend, checked in, and I showed her my new expense spreadsheet. "Look at you, all responsible," she teased. It was a small win, but it marked a shift. I wasn't the clueless roommate anymore. I was learning to own my finances. Balancing the $300 monthly payments with rent and groceries wasn't easy. I cut back hard. No more impulse buys or weekend brunches. I swapped takeout for home-cooked meals, channeling my inner chef with cheap pasta recipes. Some weeks, I'd stare at my bank account, willing it to stretch further. The stress was real, but I kept reminding myself it was temporary. Sarah deserved this, and I wasn't going to let her down. Emotionally, I was in a better place. I felt proud of handling this maturely, like I was finally acting like the adult I wanted to be. Sarah's patience made it easier. She'd text to check in, never pressuring me about the payments. That kindness fueled my gratitude and pushed me to stay on track. I also felt a new confidence in my financial skills, thanks to those reminders and spreadsheets. Looking back, this whole mess taught me something big. Clear communication is everything. I vowed to always discuss bills up front with future roommates, no assumptions, no surprises. This wasn't just about paying Sarah back. It was about growing into someone who could handle life's curveballs. Looking back, those stressful months after Sarah moved out feel like a distant memory. I stuck to our plan, paying her $1,800 over 6 months, $300 at a time. By the last payment, we were both relieved, and our trust was stronger than ever. Sarah's not just a former roommate, now she's a friend. She swings by the apartment sometimes, and we laugh about old trivia nights or her new dog. That financial mess could have ruined us, but instead, it built something solid. The experience changed me for the better. I'm a budgeting pro now, tracking every penny with an app that pings me when bills are due. No more assuming rent covers everything. I've got a new roommate, Mia, and from day one, we laid it all out. Rent, utilities, even who buys the paper towels. We split everything down the middle and check in monthly. It's like I'm a different person. No more financial blind spots. I've even started saving a little each month, something I never thought I'd manage. A new situation popped up last year when my younger cousin, Emma, moved to the city for college. She was clueless about money, just like I was at her age. Over pizza one night, I shared my story about Sarah and the $4 wake-up call. Always ask about bills, I told her, and track your spending. I helped her set up a budget app and showed her how to read a utility statement. Seeing her take notes made me proud, like I was passing on hard-earned wisdom. Reflecting on it all, that fiasco with Sarah taught me resilience. I faced a mistake, owned it, and came out stronger. It showed me the value of trust. Sarah's patience and honesty kept us grounded. Most of all, it hammered home the need for proactive communication. No more guessing games with roommates or money. Overcoming that dispute gave me a confidence I didn't have before. I'm not just getting by anymore. I'm building a life I'm proud of, one clear conversation at a time.